X pronounced .xxx or .xxx is a sponsored top-level domain still intended as a voluntary option for pornographic sites on the Internet. The sponsoring organization is the International Foundation for Online Responsibility IFFOR. The registry is operated by ICM Registry, LLC. The ICANN board voted to approve the STLD on 18 March 2011. It went into operation on 15 April. Sponsored top-level Internet domain for other uses. CXXX disambiguation. The TLD entered its sunrise period on 7 September 2011 at 4 UTC. The sunrise period ended 28 October 2011. Land rush period lasted from 8 November through 25 November, and general availability commenced on 6 December 2011. Background: a generic top-level domain for sexually explicit material was proposed as one tool for dealing with the conflict between those who wish to provide and access such material through the Internet and those who wish to prevent access to it, either by children and adolescents or by employees at their workplace. Advocates of the idea argue that it will be easier for parents and employers to block the entire TLD rather than using more complex and error-prone content-based filtering without imposing any restrictions on those who wish to access it. Editors of explicit content sites, however, were afraid that the use of a single TLD like XXX would also make it easier for search engines to block all of their content. Critics of the idea argue that because there is no requirement for providers of explicit content to use the TLD, sexually explicit material will still be commonplace in other domains, making it ineffectual at restricting access and simply creating a new land rush as registrants of com domains hosting explicit material attempt to duplicate their registrations in the XXX domain, competing with operators who hope to register desirable names unavailable in other tools. There's also concern that the existence of XXX will lead to legislation making its use mandatory for sexually explicit material, leading to legal conflicts over the definition of sexually explicit, free speech rights, and jurisdiction. There were also early indications that XXX domain names will be registered not with the intent to focus on pornographic content, but to use the adult connotations as a benefit to a marketing strategy. An example is the registration of kitesurfing, which is aimed at the extreme sport of kitesurfing, thus benefiting from sexual connotations and innuendo for humor and promotional purposes. Another example of a XXX domain name being registered without a focus on pornographic content was the registration of Pope Benedict XXX, which contained pro-Islamic content despite being named after Pope Benedict XVI. Proposal by ICM Registry. The XXX TLD was first proposed in 2000 by ICM Registry and resubmitted in 2004, but it faced strong opposition from politicians and conservative groups. ICANN announced on 1 June 2005 a preliminary approval of XXX as installed similar to Arrow, Travel, etc. ICM said it would charge you for domains. In December 2005, discussions about the implementation of XXX were taken off the agenda of ICANN Governmental Advisory Committee GAC, placing its future in doubt. In its March 2006 meeting, the GAC formulated a letter of concern to the ICANN board about XXX. On 10 May 2006, ICANN reversed approval. On 6 January 2007, ICANN put up for public comment a revised proposal following changes to the policy of the ICM registry, including the policing of any site that signs up to use the XXX registry. On 30 March 2007, the ICANN board again rejected the XXX proposal for the third time. In 6 June 2008, in accordance with ICANN bylaws, ICM filed an application with the International Center for Dispute Resolution for an independent review challenging ICANN's decision. The filing became ICDR Case No. 5117 T224-8, and in September 2009, a live hearing was held in Washington, D.C., where both sides submitted documentary evidence and witness testimony. On 19 February 2010, Victor's independent review panel consisting of Stephen M. Schwebel, Jan Paulson, and Dikran Tavrizian issued its declaration. The panel found that the application for the XXX met the required sponsorship criteria. and that the board's reconsideration of that finding was not consistent with the application of neutral, objective, and fair documented policy. At the ICANN meeting in Nairobi in March 2010, the board resolved to consider process options. A 45-day public comment was opened on 26 March 2010. At the Brussels ICANN meeting in June 2010, the ICANN board resolved to restart the process, including renewed due diligence and GSC consultation. 18 March 2011, ICANN's board approved the execution of the registry agreement with ICM for the sponsored top-level domain. The vote was 9 in favor, 4 against, with 3 abstentions. ICM is expected to make over $200 million a year, with 3 to 5 million domain registrations, as companies are anticipated to defensively register their domain. 16 November 2011, Manwin International, a pornography company that operates a large number of popular adult websites, including YouPorn, filed a request for a second ICANN independent review proceeding. In the request, Manwin asks that the delegation be voided, or, if not, put up to competition on rental. In the same day, Manwin, together with adult film studio Digital Playground, filed a suit in the Central District of California against ICM alleging antitrust and competition violations. Among the claims in the suit are that ICANN provided no competitive process for the award of the registry contract, and that ICM CEO Stuart Lawley has announced that he expects to be able and intends to prevent the establishment of any other potentially competing adult content titles, including through a contractual promise by ICANN and not to approve such titles. In 14 August 2012, Judge Philip S. Gutierrez granted in part and denied in part ICANN's motion to dismiss Manwin's claims and allowed the case against ICANN to move forward. On 10 May 2013, the case was voluntarily dismissed by the parties, likely due to private settlement. Free Speech Coalition opposed the domain, arguing it would harm the adult entertainment business by inviting censorship and blocking, while raising money for ICM without considering the best interests of the industry. Alternative implementations. Starting in 2005, there was an alternative implementation of XXX by Nerdnet, a private domain registration service unaffiliated with ICANN, via an alternative DNS route. Nerdnet no longer offers domain names under this unofficial TLD. Another unofficial XXX was previously available through the alternative DNS route system administered by the now defunct Alternic.